It's Wednesday, June 20. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. Petrojam's senior management and the permanent secretary in the Energy Ministry have been summoned to attend next week's meeting of Cabinet to respond to allegations of mismanagement at the state-run oil refinery. According to a press release, the permanent secretary has also been told to complete a report addressing each of the allegations for presentation at the meeting. There has been a public outrage about millions paid by Petrojam to two firms under questionable circumstances. The human resource manager's $12 million annual salary, as well as traveling expenses incurred by the chairman. Concern has also been raised about the massive cost overrun on the construction of a wall at the refinery, millions of dollars in donations, and the high staff turnover. Meanwhile, opposition spokesman on energy Philip Paulwell is calling for the former chairman of the Petrojam board, Dr. Percival Burasing, to also step down from the Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica, the PCJ. PCJ is the parent company of Petrojam Limited. Dr. Bahura Singh sits as a member of the PCJ. Mr. Paulwell made the call for his resignation this week in a statement to the media. The call by the opposition spokesman follows the resignation of Dr. Bahura Singh as chairman of the Petrojam board. He and two other Jamaican directors of the board resigned this week. The opposition spokesman also expressed as damning Mr. Creary's indication in his resignation letter that the board hadn't met in 9 months. The board is comprised of 3 Jamaicans. The others are Venezuelans. Alternative routes for motorists have been identified ahead of the planned closure of the 3 miles Porter Simpson Miller Square to vehicular traffic by the National Works Agency, the NWA. The closure will be in a month's time, and the plan was outlined at yesterday's Roads and Traffic Committee meeting of the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation. Work by China Harbour Engineering on 2 interchange bridges at the 3 miles started in March. When completed, traffic traveling from downtown Kingston via Spanish Town Road will pass overhead at 3 miles. Motor vehicles moving from Hagley Park Road to Marcus Garvey Drive will also travel on one of the 2 overhead bridges. At present, vehicles coming from Marcus Garvey Drive heading to Hagley Park Road are allowed to use the area, but motorists traveling from Halfway Tree have to use Development Road and Attenheim Road, then back on Marcus Garvey Drive to get to Portmore and downtown Kingston. The project is expected to last for about 18 months. Government and opposition members of Parliament yesterday expressed bipartisan positions on the recommendations from the Bruce Golding-led CARICOM Review Commission's report, which was discussed in the House of Representatives yesterday. Prime Minister Andrew Holness had requested that yesterday's meeting at Gordon House focus solely on the 51-page report, in an effort to create a bipartisan response to the report, which was tabled in Parliament on February 6. Holness noted that the report included 33 key recommendations which, according to him, boldly project a way forward in addressing aspects of our regional relationships that are not fully meeting their intended objectives.
Great confidence in the report, and I believe that it is a good tool in directing and helping government to chart a policy towards CARICOM. Mr. Speaker, though we are the government, when it comes to dealing with regional policy, and when you want to ensure that there is sustainability in your policy, it is important that we bring these matters of such national importance to the floor of Parliament to allow for debate.
Opposition leader Peter Phillips also welcomes the report, which is based on widespread consultations, not only within Jamaica, but across the Caribbean. However, Dr. Phillips said that he didn't think that what is represented in the report or by Prime Minister in his statement to the House was sufficient to enable Parliament to define the fundamental transformation of the CARICOM experience.
Debate provides one of the few opportunities really afforded to us all in this House to harmonize our positions regarding an important aspect of our national reality, and that is in relation to our position in CARICOM. To that extent, I think that what we will obviously need is further analysis of this report. I think it represents an important and good starting point. Indeed, what I would propose is that it becomes the template, in effect, that we should ask the heads of government of CARICOM to utilize as they collectively embrace the need to move forward to implement the single market and economy and to review other aspects of the CARICOM experience.
Police say a curfew has been imposed on sections of Anoto Bay, St. Mary. The curfew began at 6 a.m. today and will remain in effect until 6 a.m. on Friday. The boundaries of the curfew are as follows. North, along the coastline about 1,609 meters from Gray's Inn Main Road to the Enfield Crossing. South, along an imaginary line about 2,200 meters from the eastern boundary of Gray's Inn Main Road. East, continuing along the coastline about 1,200 meters from the Enfield Crossing at the northern boundary to the southern boundary. West, along Gray's Inn Main Road from the southern boundary to the northern boundary. The police said during the hours of the curfew, all persons within the boundaries are required to remain within their premises unless otherwise authorized. The National Works Agency plans to spend $100 million on island-wide drain cleaning in preparation for the 2018 North Atlantic hurricane season. NWA Communication Manager Stephen Shaw explains that the drain cleaning forms part of the agency's annual hurricane preparedness program. Shaw says those drains are currently being identified. He says that the works are expected to begin in the coming weeks. Shaw says that the program will primarily target drains which routinely cause flooding of some roads during severe weather events. In regional news, Guyana's Public Health Minister, Volda Lawrence, on Tuesday served notice at her ministry that police detectives and Finance Ministry internal auditors will soon begin investigations into the misappropriation of funds and the blatant attempts to steal public funds. In a frank discourse with senior officials at the Ministry of Public Health, Lawrence raised questions about blatant attempts to steal and other brazen dishonest acts perpetrated by employees. She said police and officials from the Ministry of Finance will carry out open investigations into corrupt practices by staff members, as she charged that fraud has been ongoing a long time at the Public Health Ministry. The minister did not hide her disgust at employees who have been, quote, sabotaging the ministry left and right and center, end quote. Some workers have been sending missives on internal Ministry of Public Health matters to persons outside the public service structure. Less threatening but equally toxic, she says, is the issue of insubordination. In a release, she said, quote, some parts of the MOPH train have been derailed and the madness has to stop, end quote. In sports, President of the Jamaica Athletics Administrative Association, Dr. Warren Blake, says sprinters Elaine Thompson, Shelley-Ann Fraser-Price, and Johan Blake have confirmed their participation in this weekend's National Senior Athletics Championships. The Senior Championships, which will run alongside the National Junior Athletics Championships, will be held at the National Stadium from June 21 to June 24. Blake says 2014 Commonwealth Games 100 meters champion Kamar Bailey Cole will also be competing at the 4-day championships. Meanwhile, the Junior Championships will be used to select Jamaica's team to this year's Youth Olympics Games, as well as the IAAF World Under-20 Championships. On the other hand, senior athletes will be competing for spots in the country's team for this year's World Cup of Athletics in London next month, as well as the CAC Games and the NACAC Championships. And that's the news. Do stay with us. The weather report is next. This is PBCJ's weather report. Thanks so much for staying with us. Let's start with our local currents. In Kingston this afternoon, the temperature is just about 29 degrees Celsius with a forecast of a little bit of cloudy conditions in certain areas, but it should be predominantly sunny skies today. Over there in Montego Bay, St. James, it's so warm out, it feels like 34 degrees, but it's just about 29 degrees Celsius. Wind speed is east at 11 kilometers per hour. Let's take a look at what's happening across the rest of the parishes. Temperatures between 29 and 33 degrees Celsius are forecast throughout the day. We're also saying that we could be getting a little bit of rainfall across the parishes today. Tomorrow, still warm temperatures between 29 and 33 degrees Celsius, and there is a weather condition affecting the island, so we can expect rainfall across all 14 parishes. In our regional forecast for tomorrow, temperatures between 28 and 36 degrees Celsius. We're also seeing a forecast of rainfall for Santo Domingo, Nassau, Bahamas, over there in Havana as well. We're looking at cloudy conditions in the eastern end of the Caribbean, a possibility of some heavy showers for Grenada. And further afield in the United States, on your screen you should be seeing Los Angeles, Miami, New York and Atlanta. For these areas, the minimum temperature forecast for tomorrow between 17 and 25 degrees Celsius. Over in the maximum temperatures forecast, we're looking at a high 44 degrees Celsius forecast for Los Angeles and still 28 degrees forecast for New York on the lower end. We're looking at a possibility of rainfall for Miami, New York and Atlanta. Cloudy conditions are forecast for Los Angeles. And that's it for the weather report. Thanks so much for making it PBCJ. Remember, we are the People's Station.